The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NBA.
What a win for the Pacers in Minnesota.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast.
Oh, wow. How? I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what words to say. I think I'll start with how. Wow. What? Pacers win in Minnesota. They did not have Pascal Siakam. They did not have Tyrese Halliburton. They did not have Aaron Nesmith. They did not have Miles Turner. They did not have Johnny Furphy. Andrew Nembhard got ejected. Benedict Mathurin fouled out, and they won. They won the game. This is the same bench group that everybody's been roasting deservedly for 2 games in the last 10 days before this that were lost because the bench was so bad, and they get it done. Wow. What a game for the Pacers. One of their most improbable wins I can remember from them in recent years. Up there, probably second to it, but right up there with the Kiefer Sykes, Torrey Craig, Justin Holiday, Goga Bitadze group that won in Golden State 4 years ago. What a win by the Pacers. And the reason this one maybe stands out or feels a little different than that one where Steph was going crazy is they made play after play in clutch big moments. And a lot of that was making threes that were very important, but it was a remarkable, remarkable game for the Pacers. And I want to start in overtime, and I also kind of want to set the scene. You kind of have to set the scene first, but like deservedly so. The chatter before the game was about the Pacers kind of punting it, right? No Siakam for personal reasons already. Going into the day, questionable Nesmith, questionable Halliburton, questionable Turner, Furphy's sick, right? They're missing guys. And if it's a 3rd and 4 nights already, and the Pacers have a back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday, meaning it's also the start of a 3rd and 4 nights, 11 and 15 coming at home. If you're already missing Siakam, I'm not saying you should ever punt a game in a seeding race, but if you have a lot of guys with nagging injuries, this would be the game to theoretically think about doing something like that. Give your guys extra chances to recover in between back-to-backs. So I wouldn't have done it. I guess I don't know what they did or didn't do. But regardless, they had lots of guys out, and they lost 2 guys who were playing well at different times during the game. Nembhard was playing very well, like being more point guardy, for lack of a better term, than normal. His passing was sharp. He was making his shots in the mid-range, playing good defense, right? They needed him with Ant over there. Ben Mathurin, who wasn't making his 2s, but was making his 3s and was getting to the line, had 22 points. Those 2 both had to leave the game early for different reasons. The scene was set for a disaster for the Pacers. They really had 7 players you'd consider like night in, night out NBA talent when the game started. And that's Nembhard, Mathurin, Walker, Toppin, Bryant, McConnell, and Shepherd. And 2 of them didn't finish the game. Quentin Jackson, Enrique Freeman, Tony Bradley, Ray J. Dennis, and James Johnson also available. The latter of 2 who did not play. That's the team the Pacers had available for this game, and they won. And I have to start now talking about the game with the end because Obi Toppin just went crazy. What an ending for Toppin, who had the crazy game in Washington last month that felt like, wow, look, this hot Obi Toppin moment just saved them in an overtime win. He outdid himself in the exact same situation. Obi Toppin averages per game, per every game he plays, about 10 points a game. Under 10 points a game entering today. It's now above that. He, per 36 minutes, averages less than 19 points. In this game, in the overtime alone, he scored 12 points, more than he averages per game. And he didn't even do it across the whole frame. He did it in under 3 minutes. It was an insane heater at the perfect time. And the reason that talking about this game is so fascinating is in a vacuum, if I described all the plays Toppin made, it would be fun to run through and explain how the Pacers won in overtime and how Obi Toppin did this. And I'm going to do that. But if you didn't watch it, you need to know this. And if you did watch it, I think you need to be reminded how many times it crossed a viewer's mind, oh, it's over. right? The Wolves had several moments, including a 10-0 run to start the fourth, where it felt like they got it. They got the win. And most people, I would say, watching, who either cover in my case or Dustin's case since he was there, whoever, any other podcaster or people who cover it, probably thought, all right, well, good fight. They played well. Like, most people will be happy with that performance, even in a loss. Like, no one would be defeated in that moment. But every time that happened, they responded in this crazy way. And it made the game so fun, right? Such a fun basketball game. So overtime, they get to it thanks to a great McConnell shot, which we'll get to. And overtime, does it go their way to start? Ant gets fouled. Randall gets fouled. The I almost said the Warriors. The Timberwolves are up 4, and the Pacers didn't score for the first 2 minutes of overtime, right? Running low on steam. The Wolves played the night before, but the Pacers needed something. Insert Obi Toppin. 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go on a whipper from Ben Shepherd. Hits a 3. It's a 1-point game. And then Ant instantly responds, right? One of those just like, oh, man, this is going to be tough. Like, especially because the last time the Pacers saw Ant, he went crazy in clutch time and had that insane block on Aaron Nesmith, right? It's what he does. So after that Ant shot, another moment where it felt deflating for the Pacers, Obi Toppin says, no matter. Ben Shepherd's going to get me the ball again on the right wing, and I'm going to drill another 3. Tied the game with 2 minutes and 25 seconds to go. Toppin had 28 at the time. A backbreaker. On the other end, Mike Conley hits a 3. And this 3 from Mike Conley, right wing, he banked it at the buzzer of the shot clock. This 3 was so off that Quinn Buckner, God love him, the second it came out of Conley's hands, he said, brick. And it was. It was so far to the right, it hit way up high on the right side of the backboard and banked right in. It kind of whirled through the rim. And then it was way off, and it went in. And another moment where it's like, man, the Pacers fought, but like, if that shot's going in, they don't have it tonight. Alas, obviously you can tell by the way I've talked about the game, my tone of voice, they did, in fact, come back. They get some key stops, even though they themselves did not score. I think their next trip, they get a key stop. Anthony Edwards gets fouled. Thomas Bryant finally gets a 3 to go with a minute to go, and they get one more stop. So the Pacers now have the ball down to in the final minute. And again, it's Obi Toppin at the top of the key, running fast from the right wing to the top of the key with a dribble in between. McConnell flipped it to him. He took another 3 after hitting his last 2 and banked it in. The basketball gods smiled back on the Pacers. They saw the Mike Conley shot. They said, that's not fair. You get one. Here you go, Obi Toppin. It banks in, and the Pacers are now winning. And Obi Toppin has 9 points in the overtime. Anthony Edwards draws a foul on the next trip. He hit them both. Like, the Wolves go up 1 with 19 seconds to go. Again, if that had ended the game, most people who watched it, most fans of the Pacers would have been like, that sucks. It's lame that they didn't have everybody. But good effort from the guys available. Again, do not give up on Obi Toppin. TJ McConnell dribbles around, gets into the paint, sees Toppin moving to the left corner. When have we seen a Pacers buzzer beater from the left corner ever before? 6 days ago. Toppin catches in the left corner, lets a tough 3 fly, and buried it. His 4th 3 of overtime for 12 overtime points. They came, yes, in a 5-minute period. They all came in 2 minutes and 54 seconds. The Wolves go to Randall. Thomas Bryant bodies him up. Very good defense from Thomas Bryant. Randall just short. Pacers win. Ridiculous overtime from Obi Toppin. He hit 7 threes in this game. That is a career high for Obi Toppin, who transformed his shot last year. It has not been nearly the same this year. But he hit 6 threes in a game earlier this season. He had 6 threes in a game with the Knicks in 2021-22. He had never gotten to 7. The 7 happened today. The 6, by the way, was the aforementioned Wizards game, when he had 31 and 10 in a key overtime win. This time he had 34 and 10 in a key overtime win. So a season high and career high in threes made. 34 is his Pacers high for scoring. He scored 42 once with the Knicks against a not really very much trying Raptors team 4 seasons ago. 12 made shots is tied for his Pacers high as well. Did it with a double-double. He was, I predicted yesterday, going to start even if everybody else was playing and just Siakam was out. And this is the kind of game where he can help. The Wolves don't play that fast. They could have used the juice. That was just something else. He is now twice this season, for all the ups and downs Obi Toppin has had, right? Really good in December, filled in as the third center at time, the backup center at times this year. and has kind of waned with some bad games where his defense isn't there. He played 5 minutes in the game last week, right? This was as good as he can be. With the he made 5 twos. He got to the foul line. He got rebounds. He was pushing in transition. And he, of course, going 7 for 10 from 3 obviously helps you look really good. But he was just phenomenal. And the Wolves could not stop him when it mattered. And among many things that went well for the Zombie Pacers, the 4 for 4 with 12 points overtime period for Toppin was exceptional. And in the second half of the game, he had 9 points and 5 boards, which means he was very good opening the game too. 13 first half points, 5 rebounds, plus 9 in that half, right? The starting group was pretty good. The same group that has stunk off the bench of late for the Pacers. I talked about adjustments the Pacers could make rotationally yesterday. Obviously, they couldn't do any of that in this game with the players available, but I was wrong. The answer to solve the Pacers bench problem was just start all of them. Perfect. There we go. It worked in this one. Toppin was awesome. So many other individuals and moments from this game.
March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. There's always that 5-12 you got to pick, and usually 2, maybe 3. That 4-13 matchup, FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. Looking at the first 4, we've got controversy. North Carolina, the most controversial team in the tournament, and they take on San Diego State tonight. The Tar Heels are favored by 5.5 points. We'll see if they reward the committee for placing them in the tournament. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoop action all tournament long.
The Sacramento Kings start a brutal 7-game homestand with a much-needed victory.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast.
I needed this Kings win as much as anybody else did, right? Not that all of my fears have suddenly gone away. Not that I'm not scared, you know what, of the Cleveland Cavaliers coming into this building on Monday, or the Bucks on Wednesday, or the Bucks on Saturday, or the Thunder and the Celtics early next week, right? There's still a lot of concerns with this team, and not everything is fixed after this game, but there was a lot from tonight's game that was fun and that was needed. And I think that wasn't just for me. That wasn't just for the Kings fans. I think that was also for this Kings team as well. This felt like in many ways not necessarily a get right game, because suggesting you're getting right means that you're getting right would be like you're back to a high level and you expect it to carry on. I don't think this was enough to reinsert the Sacramento Kings back into the thoughts of, oh, this is a playoff team once again, or anything like that. But this was a needed victory. It was the way that they won this game, the way that they beat the Grizzlies 132 to 122. First and foremost, the crowd here inside the Golden One Center was fantastic. I was a little concerned. I was looking around. It was a little bit sparse before tip-off, and I was like, are Kings fans not going to show up? Are they frustrated? Are they exhausted like myself with how this road trip went? It's a Monday night, too. Oh, no. They showed up, right? As usual, the Golden One Center crowd was amazing. Kings fans brought that energy that this Kings team is going to desperately need over this 7-game homestand. But specifically, this is the special kind of Sacramento energy that responds to and loves and embraces hustle and defense, right? When the Kings play hard, when the Kings hustle, dive for loose balls, lock in on defense, force steals, and get out in transition, this crowd, this city eats that up. And the Kings delivered that tonight, and the crowd responded tenfold. Sacramento's team defense tonight was fantastic. 11 steals in this game, 7 blocks. They scored 21 points off of 18 Memphis Grizzlies turnovers. They also had 16 fast break points. Those numbers are sensational. But I also want to lump in a offensive number with the defense, because I don't think it's a coincidence. I definitely think these numbers are connected. The Sacramento Kings as a team had 35 assists tonight. The ball was moving, they were sharing the basketball, and of course, shots were falling as well. I do not think at all that it is a coincidence that when the Sacramento Kings are hustling and creating energy and getting the crowd going with their defense and getting these opportunities in transition, offensively, life is so much easier for them. I know this is a more gifted half-court offensive team than they were last year or 2 years ago when the Kings relied so heavily on transition as a part of their offense. In the half-court, they're very dynamic and they have a lot more of an ability to score in isolation and slow it down with guys like DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, of course. But when this team is building that energy for themselves by creating stops and hustling on the defensive end of the floor, I mean, that the ball, this is a term of Doug Christie, like, right? The ball has energy when you make those kind of defensive plays, and that energy transfers between teammates with passes and with cuts and with reads and with everybody playing together on the same page. I do not expect this kind of defensive effort from the Sacramento Kings on a nightly basis, but one of the things Doug Christie said in an episode of The Run, which, if you're not familiar with The Run, it's like the behind the scenes documentary series that the Sacramento Kings put out on their YouTube channel that goes behind the scenes of the season, right? And there was a clip on there of Doug Christie from practice on one of their more recent episodes. And he basically told the guys, he's like, you done effed up now because you showed me that you can do it. So now I'm going to hold you to that standard. The Kings showed us all that they can play with that kind of defensive hustle and intensity. Now, they're taking on a Memphis Grizzlies team that was without Ja Morant, so that's a big deal. Not that that takes away anything from what the Sacramento Kings did tonight. Desmond Bane nearly dropped 50 points in this game, right? Memphis still a very dangerous team, even without Ja Morant. So hopefully Sacramento can do something like this against a Cleveland Cavaliers team that's very, very dangerous, as we know, or some of the other opponents that are coming through. I don't expect this to be who they are every single night, but they've shown that they're capable of doing it. And they got some massive boosts from Jake LaRavia and Devin Carter. This was a revenge game for Jake LaRavia, right? The Memphis Grizzlies, his former team. The Kings traded for Jake LaRavia from Memphis at the trade deadline. He was a huge part of the defensive spark that really got the Sacramento Kings going in the first quarter. Bad first quarters have been a real issue for the Kings over this 4-game losing streak. They got off to a really strong first quarter, and a lot of it, again, was because of the defense. When Jake LaRavia and Devin Carter specifically came into the game in that first quarter, things changed really quickly for the better. The Kings went on a massive 10-0 run to end the first quarter and take a double-digit lead into the second quarter, which was fueled by LaRavia and Carter. Jake tonight, 12 points, 4 of 7 from the field, a couple of steals, and a block. He had a dunk in transition in the first half where he threw it down, crowd's going nuts, and he turns and he says something to the Grizzlies bench. I don't know what he said, but we all saw it. We all saw it in the media section. Like, yeah, Jake LaRavia is talking. This is the epitome of a revenge game. And then he actually fouled out of this game. He was playing very aggressive defensively. A couple of the fouls, like the foul where he fouled out on Jalen Wells. Shout out Jalen Wells, Folsom High School alum. Where he fouled out should not have been a foul. I thought it was ridiculous. Doug Christie challenged it and somehow lost the challenge. Even I don't need to go down that rabbit hole right now. This is a positive episode, at least at this moment. And then he got a technical foul after it for saying something to the referees. I ain't even mad at it. You know what? Like, you played good defense. This is an emotionally charged game for you. I didn't know this, but I was informed. Apparently, like, Jake was not very well liked in Memphis. I have no idea if that's from his teammates that were there when he was with the Grizzlies, but apparently Grizzlies fans were not too keen with Jake LaRavia and how he played or anything like that. So there was some emotional charge behind this game for Jake. And he played fantastic for the Kings. And then Devin Carter, man. I've been tough on this kid, and I think he's been put in a very unfair situation in a lot of ways because he is behind the 8 ball because of the shoulder surgery, right? It's not his fault that the Sacramento Kings drafted him. I still don't think it was the right draft pick for Monty McNair and this Kings front office to make, given the win-now status of the Sacramento Kings. But none of that is Devin Carter's fault. He's been trying to work his way in, and this was a game where in his 10 minutes he showed Kings fans. He showed us all, like, no, this is the kind of hustle player that I can be. Right? He had 4 steals and a couple of assists in 10 minutes. He also tried to throw down a dunk in transition in the second half that I'm telling you, this place would have exploded, and he nearly pulled it off. I like to see him go for it. Hey, what's stopping you, kid? And he's playing like he's completely healthy. He's playing like that shoulder is not a concern to him at all. He's playing physical. He was a nuisance for the Grizzlies tonight. So great to see Devin Carter have one of his best, if not his best game as a King so far in his young career. Jake LaRavia was fantastic for the Sacramento Kings in his revenge game against the Memphis Grizzlies.
March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. There's always that 5-12 you got to pick, and usually 2, maybe 3. That 4-13 matchup, FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use. And when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. Looking at the first 4, we've got controversy. North Carolina, the most controversial team in the tournament, and they take on San Diego State tonight. The Tar Heels are favored by 5.5 points. We'll see if they reward the committee for placing them in the tournament. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoop action all tournament long.
The Houston Rockets extend their longest winning streak of the season to 7 games, rallying from down 25. The Rockets getting the 144-137 overtime win against a Philadelphia 76ers team that did not know how to miss when it came to shooting the basketball in this game. They shot a blistering 49% from downtown in this game. The Sixers they hit 15 threes by halftime compared to just 5 by the Rockets. This game felt like it was over or going to be a blowout at so many different various points. 76ers led by 21 at halftime. And man, This game was just a total roller coaster, wild feeling kind of game. We're going to talk about all the different parts of it, the crazy ending, the rally from down 25 in the third quarter, the different areas of problems in this game, Fred and Tari both being ejected by the officials, Dylan Brooks fouling out, Jalen's career playmaking night, Jabari with a 30-piece off the bench. So much to get into from this game, but I think where we have to start is at the end with kind of the wild sequence at the end of this game that led to the overtime period. And I want to give a lot of credit to this Rockets team first and foremost, because it's really hard, right, for NBA teams when they do go down big, 20 plus, 25, whatever. This comeback ties a Rockets franchise record for largest comeback in franchise history. They came back from down 25 against the Spurs back in the 2019-2020 season. It was like December 2019, I believe. They were down 25 at halftime against the Spurs. This was the Russ Harden era Rockets. I was actually at that game, of all things. It was kind of crazy to see that stat pop up on the broadcast. But to have the mental fortitude and the composure to overcome a 25-point deficit and to do it despite the insane shooting night that the 76ers were having, to overcome your own shooting struggles in this game, to rally, to overcome some kind of questionable officiating at times. Courtney Kirkland was in his bag in this game in particular. So I want to commend the Rockets and the youth on the Rockets for kind of getting past those mental barriers and being able to finish out this game strong, especially without Fred VanVleet. Because look, there were various points where it felt like this game was going to be lost. When Tari Eason got ejected after a pair of back-to-back fouls, kind of gift wrapping Quentin Grimes like 5 points in a row, which ballooned the lead to 125-115. That kind of felt like, all right, here it is. This is the end. They don't have enough runway. 76ers are going to run away with it. And then Fred VanVleet when his flagrant one, which shouldn't have even been a flagrant one, gets upgraded to a flagrant 2, and then he gets kicked out of the game, and the Rockets are down 4 instead of Fred VanVleet being at the free throw line, taking 3 free throws on the 3-point shot where he absolutely got fouled by O'Shea Brissett. I mean, it should have been a 1-possession game. Instead, the 76ers got the ball and they got a pair of free throws out of it. There were various points where it felt like the Rockets were going to lose this game, and they didn't. But even outside of all that, look, the Rockets were down. To walk through the ending sequence of this game, the Rockets were down 129-121 after Quentin Grimes hit a huge 3-pointer that kind of felt like a dagger at that point after the whole sequence involving Fred and Brissett. So 64 seconds left in the game. Rockets are down 129-121. Jalen Green gets a huge block on Justin Edwards, a good defensive stop. There's a coach's challenge and everything. Rockets wind up getting the ball, and Jabari Smith Jr. gets a really good look at a 3, misses it. They get an offensive rebound. Jabari Smith Jr. hits a huge 3-pointer to cut it to a 1-possession game. Jared Butler gets a couple free throws. Jalen Green gets a very quick layup on the other end. Still a 1-possession game, 131-128. And it's under 10 seconds to play. Rockets wind up forcing the turnover that they needed. And Jalen Green gets a huge steal. So a couple very key defensive plays for Jalen Green late in this game to cap off what was a fantastic night for Jalen Green. More on him later. Rockets call timeout, and they draw up a play. They need a 3. And the play they draw, they get the pistol formation. Jalen Green's in the backcourt. They lob it into Jabari Smith Jr., and he's got his back to the basket. 76ers immediately foul him. This is the problem in today's NBA is when you're up 3, a lot of coaches like to foul up 3. Jabari gets to the free throw line, hits the first one. Fantastic. But now the Rockets need a miracle. They sub in Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun. Sengun has been benched since the midway point of the third quarter, because Ime Udoka opted to go small in order to fight his way back into this game. He went small to combat the 76ers' small lineup. And we'll talk about that decision and whether it was the right one, the wrong one, how things could have been handled differently there. But he checks Sengun back in, literally his first seconds of fourth quarter action. And then Jabari Smith Jr., just chef's kiss, perfectly, beautifully, excellently misses the second free throw with like the softest touch ever. It bounces up, and Steven Adams does a great job clearing out 2 guys on the, on the free throw line box out. Sengun gets in there, gets the offensive rebound, doesn't bring the ball back down, puts it back up and in. The biggest play of the night from Jabari Smith Jr. missing that free throw, and the biggest shot of the night made by Alperen Sengun, despite having been benched up to that point. And the Rockets were able to tie this thing up at 131 all. And then from that point on, Ime Udoka kept Alperen Sengun in the game to start overtime. And Sengun started overtime in a big way. He had an and one at the very beginning of the overtime period. Then he had an assist out to Jalen Green for 3. And he wrapped up OT with a pair of free throws a little bit later on in the period. Just a really dominant showing from Alperen Sengun. And again, I want to give Sengun a ton of credit here for staying mentally locked in. It'd be really easy to get benched. And Ime Udoka talked about this post game, that Sengun wasn't happy about sitting on the bench. Nobody's ever happy when they get benched. But for him to still be mentally locked in and ready to contribute when his number was called upon at the end of regulation, and then to be there and to be himself and to take over that overtime period was impressive. And again, it's just a testament to this whole Rockets team, a testament to him, to the mental fortitude of this whole team to be able to rally from down 25, but not just rally and get back into it, but then to withstand another handful of haymakers from the 76ers in this game. This game constantly felt like, okay, 76ers, they had a hot shooting first quarter. Cool. They'll cool down, right? Oh, hot shooting entire first half. Cool. They'll cool down. All right, third quarter's here, and they're still on fire. The Rockets rallied back into it. Cool. All right, 10-0 run at the top of the fourth. Here it goes. They're going to let go. Like, the 76ers were just on fire this entire game. Hat tip to them. A lot of credit to them. Quentin Grimes had the game of his career high in points, career high in rebounds. It took every ounce of effort and execution that the Rockets had to be able to win this game, but they got it done. An absolute roller coaster of a game. Just a wild one from start to finish.